Before questioning you according to the usage established by me in order to better orient myself for giving further indications, as now, for example, questioning you about why and how, as a result of your spare time, reflections during the past week, you have elucidated and understood my indications concerning the first exercise, which I recommended at the third meeting, for the purpose of preparing in your common presences fertile soil for the possibility of intentionally composing data for the impulses sacred for man. I find it necessary to indicate to you two other independent exercises which were in the general program of the Institute founded by me, but which belonged to quite a different series of exercises, which were then also for a definite category of pupils. One of the what are called assisting means for acquiring one's own real I. Besides these exercises of which I now speak, and also the information about them into which I now wish to initiate you, being for you a really good means for this aim, they will help you firstly to apprehend and understand many details of the significance and sense of the first of the seven what are called cardinal exercises I mentioned. And secondly, you will, thanks to this information, learn, by the way, of two definite notions, which from the dawn of centuries among all categories of initiated persons on the earth have been considered and are at the present time considered secret, and an acquaintance with which for the average man can, according to the convictions of these initiates, even prove ruinous. You must here know that on the earth, in almost all epochs, the persons who deserved to become genuine initiates were divided into three categories. The initiates belonging to the first category were those who, thanks to their intentional sufferings and conscious labors, attained a high gradation of what is called being, and for this they acquired the title saint. To the second category belonged those who, thanks to the same factors, acquired a great deal of all kinds of information, and to their names was added the title learned. And to the third category, those who, by means of, again, the same factors, attained being and also enlightened themselves concerning a great number of objective truths, and to their names was added the title sage. The first of the aforementioned secrets is that as a means for self-perfecting, a man can use a certain property which is in his psyche, and which is even of a very negative character. This property can serve as an aid to self-perfecting, and exists in people in general, particularly in contemporary people, and especially in you, and is none other than that which I have many times condemned, in which people themselves consider an unworthy manifestation for a man who has reached responsible age, of course in this respect also excluding themselves, and it is called self-deception. Such an, at first glance, illogicality and deduction not corresponding to any human sane reasoning, namely, that such a property unbecoming to the psyche of a man of adult age can consciously be made use of for such an immeasurably high aim, is obtained owing to the fact that the cognizance of truths concerning the possibilities of self-perfection and the real forming in oneself of what is required for this must proceed not in the ordinary consciousness of a man, which for the given case has almost no significance, but in what is called the subconscious, and since, thanks to all kinds of accidents ensuing from the various abnormalities of our ordinary life, it has become impossible for a man, particularly for a contemporary man, to take in anything at all and, so to say, digest it directly with his subconsciousness. Therefore, it is necessary for him, as has in the course of many centuries been experimentally proven by persons of pure reason, to use a special means for inculcating in the subconsciousness some reasonable indication accidentally grasped by his ordinary consciousness and not contradictory to his instinct. And this can be done only by means of this self-deceptive imaginativeness inherent in him. If you have understood without any doubt what you must do and how, and fully hope at some time to attain this in reality, you must at the beginning often imagine, but imagine only, that this is already present in you. This is necessary chiefly in order that the consciousness forming in oneself during an active state should continue also during a passive state. For the correct understanding of the significance of this first assisting exercise, it is first of all necessary to know that when a normal man, that is, a man who already has his real I, his will, and all the other properties of a real man, pronounces aloud or to himself the words, I am, then there always proceeds in him, in his, as it is called, solar plexus, a, so to say, reverberation. That is, something like a vibration, a feeling, or something of the sort. This kind of reverberation can proceed also in other parts of his body in general, but only on the condition that, when pronouncing these words, his attention is intentionally concentrated on them. If the ordinary man, not having as yet in himself data for the natural reverberation, but knowing of the existence of this fact, will, with conscious striving for the formation in himself of the genuine data which should be in the common presence of a real man, correctly and frequently pronounce these same, and for him as yet empty words, and will imagine that this same reverberation proceeds in him, he may thereby ultimately, through frequent repetition, gradually acquire in himself a, so to say, theoretical beginning for the possibility of a real practical forming in himself of these data. He who is exercising himself with this must at the beginning, when pronouncing the words, I am, imagine that this same reverberation is already proceeding in his solar plexus. Here, by the way, it is curious to notice that as a result of the intentional concentration of this reverberation on any part of his body, a man can stop any disharmony which has arisen in this said part of the body. That is, so to say, he can, for example, cure his headache by concentrating the reverberation on that part of the head where he has the sensation of pain. At the beginning, it is necessary to pronounce the words, I am, very often, and to try always not to forget to have the said reverberation in one's solar plexus. Without this, even if only imagined experiencing of the reverberation, the pronouncing aloud or to oneself of the words I am will have no significance at all. The result of the pronouncing of them without this reverberation will be the same as that which is obtained from the automatic associative mentation of man, namely, an increase of that in the atmosphere of our planet from our perception of which, and from its blending with our second food, there arises in us an irresistible urge to destroy the various temples of our ordinary life, somehow established through centuries. This second exercise, as I have already said, is only preparatory, and when you have acquired the knack, as it were, of experiencing this process imagined in yourself, only then will I give you further definite real indications for the actualization in yourself of real results. First of all, concentrate the greater part of your attention on the words themselves, I am. And the lesser part concentrate on the solar plexus, and the reverberation should gradually proceed of itself. At first, it is necessary to acquire only, so to say, the taste of these impulses, which you have not as yet in you, and which, for the present, you may designate merely by the words I am, I can, I wish. I am, I can, I am can. I am, I wish, I am wish. In concluding my elucidations of this assisting exercise, I will once more repeat, but in another formulation, what I have already said. If I am, only then I can. If I can, only then do I deserve and have the objective right to wish. Without the ability to can, there is no possibility of having anything, nor the right to it. First, we must assimilate these expressions as external designations for these impulses in order ultimately to have the impulses themselves. If you, several times, experience merely the sensation of what I have just called the taste of these impulses sacred for man, you will then already be indeed fortunate, because you will then feel the reality of the possibility of sometime acquiring in your presence data for these real divine impulses proper only to man. And on these divine impulses there is based for humanity the entire sense of everything existing in the universe, beginning from the atom and ending with everything existing as a whole and, among other things, even your dollars.